Hello, welcome back to Open Table Adventures. I am here at Unplugged with another episode of Eat This Game. And today I am talking with none other than Moss, the creator of HellWhalers. How are you doing, Moss?
I'm doing good.
Tell us who you are, what is HellWhalers?
Yeah, my name is Moss Powers. I'm a designer. I've been designing for a few years, but my big game so far has been HellWhalers. HellWhalers is a game of Christian horror and nautical horror. So you play as damned whalers in hell, searching through and gambling and fighting your way to fight a monstrous leviathan whale to earn your chance at salvation. That's the brief pitch of it. That's who I am and what it is.
I've heard it described and have described it myself as like Moby Dick meets Dante's Inferno. Is that an accurate?
I'd say that's pretty accurate. Yeah.
I'd love for you to take a second, just describe what is actual what are the mechanics of it? Like, how does an actual gameplay work?
So it's kind of a modified version of a belonging outside belonging game. So it's based around tokens primarily. You'll take tokens through role playing. You'll usually use a weak move, which in your role playing with HellWhalers is typically revolved around their playbook sins. So your character will have various vices and sins that they're built around. You'll have like the greedy, the guilty, the hot-tempered, and they'll indulge in those vices to use weak moves, and that will gain them a token, which is represented by souls in the game. You'll spend those tokens to kind of take the spotlight and rise above those vices and make cool moments for your character. You'll also take those tokens and you'll gamble them on a 3d6 board. So there's various payouts on a board. You roll 3d6, and then if they pay out, they give you more souls. If you lose the bet, you lose. So it's a gambling mechanic. It's kind of added on top of the PvP system. It also does play with the GM, 2 to 5 players. The GM usually plays the captain within the story, as well as any other NPCs that need to play, but they have their own character, which is the captain.
I love the gambling aspect of that. I come from a strong poker family, so I appreciate that in my games for sure.
Nice.
What were some of your obviously inspired by Moby Dick and by all the kind of how was that? Why did you choose to go down that? Why are you like this? Is what I'm asking. But why did you choose to make this game about this hell whale, the sin, and all that?
Well, I was raised religious, first of all, so it is coming from a personal place.
Yeah.
I am no longer a religious person, so I've moved away from the church, but I was raised pretty strongly in the church, and that affected me pretty deeply as a queer person moving away from that. So at the end of the day, it is kind of about religious trauma and what that means to me and how I felt about it. But it is kind of personal in those aspects, but I find a lot of people really relate to it really well. It's the experience of feeling that alienation of leaving the church is pretty strong for a lot of folks.
Yeah.
A lot of the major touchstones are like some of the prophecy mechanics from Morporg inspired the like 666 iconography. Mastodon's Leviathan album I was listening to a lot while I was writing it. Moby Dick, obviously.
Yeah.
Dante's Inferno, obviously. I was an English major in college, so a lot of that stuff was reinforced into my brain. Some less common inspirations are like Necronautilus was a big one by Adam Bass for the combat clocks in the game. Sleepaway by J Dragon influenced it quite a bit. Just some general touchstones and inspirations there.
Okay, yeah. You stole my next question, which is what are some other games that people might know that are similar? One of the great aspects of the game also is just the aesthetic and the art of it is so indicative of what you're getting into, because it harkens back to the Moby Dick of it all,
right?
But also brings in that religious iconography and the religious trauma.
Right.
Was that something you really tried to hone in with the artists and try to get to make sure this is what you wanted?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a creative director that I work with, my primary business partner, does layout and also arranges the art and designs the concepts that we're working with for art. Provides the art briefs for our artists and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
We worked with a few artists on this, most of which were our friends, which was really rad.
That's nice. Yeah.
They did a lot of custom lino cuts that they cut into linoleum and stamped on paper, and we uploaded the scans and stuff. We also had some digital stamps in there from one of our friends that went really great. They matched the style very well. And then we heavily leveraged a lot of public domain just for budget reasons, honestly. Yeah. But there's a lot of good public domain in that kind of sphere of religious iconography and Dante's Inferno type stuff.
Totally, yeah. I'd love to know what is in your idea of the game, what should people get out of playing this game? What feelings do you want them to feel? What do you want the outcome to be for someone who plays this game?
Ultimately, my thesis of the game is that it's about hope for like hope that being alive is worth it regardless of whatever comes after.
Yeah.
It's all about the journey, not about the destination in this kind of game. So while you are fighting and cutting through like a horrible place like hell, there's camaraderie, there's still like a sense of heroicness, there's still a sense of like we are in this together even though it sucks, but like we have each other, we have our important things about us that we care about, our reasons for living and trying to make our way out of hell. But like at the end of the day, it's all about what those characters hold on to and not about where they're going, because at the end there's some pre-written epilogues and most of them are not great for the characters, but like it's really about the journey, not the destination. It's about hope for being it all worth it just because we're here in the moment, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you can definitely see throughout that the heart of it is that community and camaraderie of like, you know, we're going through hell, but we're going through it together.
Right, you're a ship crew. It's a very like tight-knit brotherhood kind of material stuff.
Definitely is in real life is like, you know, nice to be like, oh yeah, we need each other to really get through all of this that's going on.
Absolutely.
I'd love for you to take a second to talk about because there are some like expansion and extra bits that come with the game. We'll talk about that.
Right. We just did a crowdfund a couple of months ago for Book of Leviathan, which is our expansion for it. It adds a couple new playbooks, the Abomination, which is my direct commentary on queerness in the church. Also added The Returned, which is our like come back from the dead wrong playbook. Touches on that trope of came back wrong, which is really fun. We added 2 new lore stories, so the game has like little vignettes that set stories within hell that you can collect pieces of lore from. So we added 2 of those. One of them a tribute to Junji Ito that has an accompanying art piece that's really beautiful, horrific. There's a lot of horror inspiration in it. There's 2 new NPCs you can pick up, 2 new endings that you get to play through, and some new locales, some new fish to fish, because there's a fishing minigame, because of course.
Yeah.
If you're on a boat, you need a fishing minigame. But it just adds a whole lot of stuff from the original and then more of it, basically.
Yeah. You kind of touched on, like you were just saying, the horror aspects of it. What were some of your like horror inspirations? Like you said the Junji Ito for some of it, but what were some of the other like horror movies or books or like icons?
Junji Ito was a big one. I find the general horrors of like gothic religious horror kind of in there a little bit. There's a lot of like the horrors of like what if heaven was empty and we get there and there's fucking nothing there. Stuff like that is like existential horrors were really big on it, but there's not a particular media that comes from that I can think of offhand. It's just a lot of like general anxiety that comes to the brain. As far as
the Bible is kind of a horror story.
Yeah, there's a lot of horrific moments in it.
Yeah.
So biblically, there's absolutely a lot of stuff in there that is directly horror inspired by the Bible.
Yeah.
Other big like horror touchstones in there. Like I said, Junji Ito is a big one.
You can see that in the art style. I feel like that, like the Junji Ito, like the black and white.
Right. It's a lot of heavy line art kind of stuff on a couple of the pieces, high contrast. Right. In the Book of Leviathan, I definitely touched on a lot more of that horror aspect, but I'm trying to struggle to piece together where it's all coming from.
Yeah.
So many different little things of everything.
Your dark, twisted mind. Also, you mentioned a little bit, are there other aspects of like queerness that you included within the book as well? Or is it just kind of like the general vibe?
Ultimately, the playbooks are reflections of how I felt as a queer person leaving the church and like my experience of alienation from that community that I grew up in. And like reckoning with the fact that like, oh, I'm being told that I'm going to hell for eternity for what I am. Like, what does that mean to me? So ultimately, a lot of the playbooks are reflections of how I felt about those things, but the general core premise is not inherently queer until it gets to the Book of Leviathan's direct commentary on it with the Abomination.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's definitely, but that's definitely something all queer people, or most queer people can relate. Like, I didn't grow up super religious, but I grew up in the South.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people I was around went to church and went to, like, some of the strict ones that, you know, are like,
and even if you're not directly in the church, like hearing that rhetoric all the time can be very affecting, right?
Yeah. And it's nice to see that, like, does it feel kind of like cathartic making this game?
This was
like,
a very cathartic one.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have experienced that in my own like creative process of like the queer shame,
Right.
from like my childhood,
Right.
like, using that.
A lot of this book is also about shame and guilt too, which
Yeah.
are very inherent to the queer experience. It's like feeling that internalized like feelings of shame and guilt come up so often. And a lot of the playbooks really touch on that directly. So yeah, that's definitely a big part of it as well.
Yeah. It's a gorgeously put together game. Like the overarching story of it and the art and everything is so well put together.
Thank you.
And you should be very proud of it for sure, and I'm sure you are. Is there anything in like all of your talking about this game with people, is there something that you've always wanted to like bring up and never had the chance to? Like any random thing in the book that like no one's pointed out to you and you're like, what's that about? Or anything like that?
Nothing that I haven't spoiled in a couple interviews. I do have a whale joke if you want to hear a whale joke.
I would love to hear a whale joke.
Okay. 2 whales are sitting in a bar. One whale turns to the other whale and says, And the second whale turns to the first whale and says, Jesus Christ, Frank, you are drunk. We need to get you home.
That's a good one for sure.
So that's my whale joke, which hasn't been on an interview yet. So you got that.
Yeah, so I got that exclusive. Got it. Okay. The last question I have for you. One I ask all of my guests here is: if you were to take a big old bite, a whale-sized bite, if you will, out of HellWhalers, what does it taste like? What's the mouth feel? The culinary experience? What's that?
I don't think it would be particularly pleasant.
Yeah.
It is at the core of horror game, so I'm gonna say, I want to say like kind of a sludgy saltwater taffy, but spicy. So like a ghost pepper taffy.
Yeah.
Saltwater taffy.
An overall unpleasant experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like sticky and sludgy and lots of spice. So I'm gonna say ghost pepper saltwater taffy.
Okay. I'll take that in mind for sure. Okay, with all that being said, I think I have a good idea of what I will be baking. So I'm gonna go ahead. So for HellWhalers, I've decided to make what I'm calling Hellfire lava cakes, which are essentially just a chocolate lava cake with a little bit of a kick to them. It brings in a bit of bitterness with the dark chocolate and a little bit of spice and uncomfortableness with the chili pepper. So I start by buttering and cocoa powdering all of my ramekins so that our cakes do not stick. And then I'm going to make my ganache that I'm going to put in the center of these cakes. This is essentially our lava. So it's just 2 parts chocolate, 1 part cream. I just heat up the cream, pour it over the chocolate, let it melt a little bit, and stir until fully combined. I'm also going to add in the Hellfire bit in here, which is our chili powder. You can add as much as you want. I'd recommend 2 to 3 teaspoons. I added 2 in this one, and I feel like I could have done a little bit more, but that's neither here nor there. Do it to your own taste. After mixing it all together, I'm going to put it in the fridge so it sets up nice and firm. Spoiler alert, I don't wait long enough, and it's not set up completely, but we'll deal with that later. So for the cake batter, I start by melting together some chocolate and butter until fully combined and homogeneous. Then I take some eggs and sugar and I whisk them together until they are a pale yellow color and a bit light and fluffy. I decided to do this by hand because I hate myself. And because I hate you too, I'm going to have you watch the whole thing. I'm just kidding, I'll fast forward through it. Then I add a little bit of cocoa powder into our egg mixture, whisking until fully combined. Then I slowly add in our chocolate mixture. And finishing it up with a little bit of flour, salt, and baking soda. Now that that's all combined, I'm going to pour it all into our prepared ramekins. I just kind of eyeball it. If you want to, you can, use a measuring cup or a scale to make it more exact. I didn't feel like doing that. So I just eyeballed it so that they're all about the same level. Also, cheeky 5th ramekin that I prepared just in case I had extra batter, which I did. Now here's where I kind of messed up, because I didn't wait long enough for our ganache to set up. So it's still a little bit loose and not really ballable. So I kind of have to violate the cakes in order to get the ganache in the center. Oh god, this is bad. This is rough, Dan. I don't know why'd you do it like this. Why'd you do it like this? We're gonna have to censor all of this. Moving on, I go ahead and I put our cakes in the oven for about 25 minutes, and I will see you in the glamour shots. Thank you all so much for watching this episode of Eat This Game. Moss, why don't you go ahead and tell everyone where they can find HellWhalers on their own?
You can find HellWhalers at +1EXP's website at ttrpg.link/hellyeah or through their website. You can also get it on my itch at brewisttabletopgames.itch.io. Google Leviathan can be found on physicals with +1EXP as well, ttrpg.link/bol, or through their website. We also have community copies available of Vogue Leviathan for digital, so those are free right now. We've backed up a ton on the Kickstarter, or not Kickstarter, the backer kit, but yeah, we have a ton of those available, and those are also available on brewisttabletopgames.itch.io. And I can be found on Blue Sky mostly, at Mossdagger, MOSSDAGGAR. I'm also on Tumblr and Discord with the same hats, so go ahead and find me. I'll see you around.
Well, as always, I have been Dan the Baker. This has been Open Table Adventures, and you are always welcome to pull up a seat. Bye-bye.